Welcome to the future, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Future of Building 2021. Every year this title stands for one of the most important B2B events in the construction industry. Advantage Austria and its partner, the Enterprise Europe Network, are welcoming you to this international congress, fully packed with trend-setting information and a lot of B2B networking opportunities. Participants from all over the world have registered and gathered today to explore the future of building. The main focus this year is on sustainability and green building. So the aim for today is to show the wide range of Austria's outstanding know-how, to share new project ideas, and of course to provide a platform for high-quality B2B contacts. And yes, since this is a virtual event, your future business partner might be just one mouse click away. So don't forget to publish your business profile on the B2B matchmaking platform if you have not done so yet, in order to, come into good contact with other participants and, who knows, maybe your future business partner. So this is networking at its best, and contributing to global business like this is one of the strongest guiding principles of the event organizers. So it's my pleasure to announce the welcome remarks of the President of the Austrian Federal Economic Chamber. Good morning, Harald Mahrer.
Dear architects, builders, creators and innovators, dear friends of the future. A very warm welcome to the 7th edition of our Future of Building conference. Our crowd is very international. This really is good news, given the need for global change in the construction industry. Some say that it's no secret that most of the time the construction industry is resistant to change. But change has arrived. It's real, it's good, and it's new. There are countless new technologies coming to market, some of them really disruptive. The applications to construction are boosting productivity, safety, and also, very important, bottom lines. We will see more prefabrication and modular construction, increased automation and 3D printing. IoT, AI, augmented reality and virtual reality and other new technologies will change how projects are designed and executed entirely. And as the technologies develop further, robotics will become more commonplace. Also on job sites, and likely reduce many of the manual labor hours that are currently part of projects. So, staying on top of new technology trends will give your organization an edge over the competition. This will help us all reduce energy consumption and greenhouse gas emission as well. This is really good news. And I personally firmly believe that it's better to spend billions on innovation than trillions on emission cuts. With that, I wish you, as builders of our future, an insightful and rewarding conference.
Well then, let us step into the future of building. For our opening plenary session, we have invited some high-level experts and political decision makers to discuss some current issues. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, we are fully covering all legal requirements dealing with the COVID-19 safety measures here in our studio. But let me first say hello to Michael Otter. He is the Director General of Advantage Austria, and with this, the organizer of this event. Good morning, Mr. Otter. Good morning, Mr. Otter. Well, what in particular is it that makes Future of Building so interesting for the construction industry?
Well, I think this is a very distinctive conference which draws its USP from two main pillars. And one pillar is information. We really try to inform our audience about the market trends, about the business opportunities which are out there all over the world. And we do this through keynotes and plenary and podium discussions and other formats. So information is one pillar. And the second, which I think is a really core part of our conference, is to talk about business. It's the B2B part. You register your profile, you go to the conference platform, you put in your profile, you search for other business partners, and you find the correct business partner from all over the world. And you have the opportunity to have a video call, a chat with your business partner about concrete business opportunities. So information and business.
Well, that's amazing. But to be honest, I mean, how do you feel about doing this conference as a virtual event?
Well, as you all know, we had the businesses all over the world, not only in Austria and everybody, in fact. We had a rough year. I mean, we had a challenging year with all the COVID situation around all the world. It started with interruptions in all of our supply chains. We all have difficulties when we try to have our business troubles, when we try to travel and meet business partners all over our world. So this is a challenge to do your business development nowadays. And of course, with restrictions, businesses had to close, the borders closed. So all a challenging year, but also a year with opportunities. And when we talk about opportunities, we realize that collaboration, talking with other business people in Austria, but also talking with other business people with all over the world is a central part when we look into the future. And usually the future of business, this conference is a live conference, is a conference where everybody is present, where if you can imagine all these decision makers from all over the world, they mingle in a room, they meet, they discuss, they talk about business. Well, this is not possible this year, but what we did, we created a virtual room. And if you have this picture in mind, people meeting and talking about business, we tried to create this in the virtual world. And it is not the same, but nevertheless, I think it will give us this positive perspective for the future. Collaboration, this year collaboration in the virtual world, which will result in real business.
Mm-hmm. And somehow it seems as if you're trying to seize the best out of both worlds. Talking about two worlds, successful business cooperation and international cooperation obviously needs both Advantage Austria on the one hand and good support by the government on the other hand. And this is the reason why we have Florian Frauscher here with us today. He is the Director General for Economic Affairs, Innovation and the International Policy in the Federal Ministry for Digital and Economic Affairs. Welcome, Mr. Frauscher. Let us talk about supporting Austrian companies. Let us talk about Go International. Which role does this program take in the internationalization efforts of your ministry?
Thank you. Let me start to talk a little bit how important export is for Austria and for our economy. 50% of our GDP is generated abroad, and every second job is coming from export. So it's really important for the government to help our companies during their export activities. Unfortunately, last year our export declined by around 10% due to COVID crisis. But, and that's the good news, the exports are coming back and we are recovering again. And new data shows that we will be already in the end of this year at the same level, at the pre-crisis level with our exports. And that's really fantastic news. So the government tries to help companies, for example, with the program Go International, you mentioned. What do? We give subsidies to SMEs, for example, to conquer new markets. Or we also organize events with our partner, the Austrian Chamber of Commerce. And there the people can networking and get expertise like this forum today.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. Frauscher, is there anything in specific to know regarding the construction industry?
Yeah, the construction industry is really important in Austria, but also within the export sector. And I think the construction industry is also really important to fight climate change. And Austria is known as that country in sustainability. And I think we have really many good companies that are doing sustainability construction. And one example, one showcase is the Austrian World Expo that is starts this year in October in Dubai, and I think we will have today also a panel where we speak about this Austrian showcase, where really amazing design comes together with really amazing technology. And you should join also this panel.
Well, I can see it. Advantage Austria and Go International, a winning team, obviously. Never change a winning team. So, gentlemen, many thanks for this opening talk and have a great conference.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we will talk a lot about sustainable materials, of course, today. And of course, wood is one of the favorites when it comes to sustainability. In general, Austria's wood industry is a very international one, but let us first have a look at the material itself. Dieter Lechner, he is the Deputy Director of the Association of the Austrian Wood Industry, is joining us here on the panel. Good morning, Mr. Lechner. How do you see the role of wood and timber industry and for a sustainable construction world?
Good morning. Thanks to be invited to participate in the panel to talk about building with wood. Well, we are facing one of the most challenging times in history. Global housing is expected to double by the year 2060. So in order to address this demand and also to avoid increasing greenhouse gas emissions, the construction industry has to look out for low carbon materials. At the moment, construction industry accounts for about 11% of all greenhouse gas emissions. And therefore, the construction industry will have to allow sustainable and new building materials such as wood. And wood is a truly sustainable material as it stores CO2 through its lifetime. The longer wood is used, the better it is for the environment. And building with wood in urban environments, you can build a second forest in the town, while at the same time you have trees growing around the city and even absorb more CO2. And another environmental advantage of wood is that it allows for prefabrication and industrialized building methods, which, for instance, would lead to fewer truck transportation. And if you look on the technical properties of wood, you will also detect some advantages. For even, you can expand existing cities, where with other building materials, you can build 1 story up on the building. With wood, you can allow to build up to 3 stories. And with regard to the prefabrication, you will also identify that you can reduce the noise and the impact on the environment by using wood. So the investors and the cities are looking for new materials such as wood. And even the politicians have detected that wood could be a solution for the future. President of the EU Commission, Mrs. von der Leyen, gave her first State of the Union in fall last year. And she mentioned even more ambitious goals with regard to the Green Deal. And in this respect, she said that cities have to convert from sinks into storages of carbon. And thus is a new possibility to use the renewable material wood.
And really convincing. And what is Austria's role in this development, Mr. Lechner?
Wood is one of the most important materials of Austria. Around 30 million cubic meters we grow in Austrian forests a year. So if you break it down, it would mean that you have 1 cubic meter of wood in 1 second. And if you consider that, for instance, a traditional single-family house would need at about 40 cubic meters of wood, that would mean that in a day, about 2,150 houses grow in Austrian forests. And as wood is such an important part of our industry, Austria is also happening to be one of the experts in timber construction and even in cross-laminated timber elements. The companies have elaborated a lot of reliable and safe solutions with regard to building with wood, especially in cities. So we are the forerunners with regard to timber construction in the world, not only from the technological point of view, but also with regard to the craftsmanship to erect such kind of buildings. For instance, let me give you at the end some examples. The famous Hoho, the second tallest building in Vienna, or for instance, the faculty building of the NTU University in Singapore, which will cover 45,000 meters of square, which will be the most important and the biggest Asian timber building as such. Or, for instance, the Milwaukee Ascent, which will be a 25-story building, 87 meters high, which will be the tallest mass timber building in the world. And they have one thing in common. They are built with Austrian influence. Wow. So we are very much looking forward to see a lot of further timber buildings popping up on the world map.
Well, wood and timber obviously have enormous potential when it comes to a green future, no doubt. But there is even more. But there seems to be even more. Andreas Pfeiler, you are the director of the Association of Building Materials and Ceramic Industries. Welcome, Andreas Pfeiler. So what is the answer? What is the approach of the ceramic and concrete industry, of course, concerning the future of building?
Yes, good morning, and thank you very much for this question. Of course, also our industries that are producing bricks, concrete, cement or gypsum are working very hard on those issues to find new solutions for the future. But before I go into details, I would like to give you a picture concerning sustainability. The majority of our European cities are based on Roman villages. And the materials that the Romans used at that time, coming from local resources like bricks or natural stones, are the base, the foundation of our modern cities. So just because those materials are not visible, they're not wasted. They're still in a phase of use. So maybe they were not green branded to that time, but they are best practice for sustainability. So if we discuss about sustainability, we have to do a serious approach for life cycle analysis over a long period. Of course, in the phase of production, our material cause emissions and we need a lot of energy to produce them. But on the other side, we know that we have the potential to mitigate climate change if we use those products. And the Austrian Ministry of Climate Action awarded our invention, the technology of thermal component activation, as such an option to avoid the consumption of fossil energy in the phase of use, as an option to avoid further emissions in the phase of use. So the principle for that is rather easy. We collect a lot of renewable energy coming from the sun, the wind, from geothermy, and we store those renewable energy not in batteries. We store it in the bulky parts of the building, like ceilings or walls, and have the possibility to supply this energy over the whole year to heat or cool the rooms in the building. So especially in summertime, we do not need these rather less stylish air-conditioned devices hanging out of the wall of every second building. That's crazy. So we are convinced that the green building of the future is not a question of wood, concrete, cement. It's a question if we can solve the problem of the energy supply. So the energy issue has the potential to change the game, but therefore we have to leave our path of common patterns.
Mm-hmm. Change the game, you said. Where are these game changers and who are they?
So far, buildings are just energy consumers. So we need to support and push some solutions that buildings become more and more energy self-supplier of renewable energy. So we have to use the storage capacity of the bulky parts of the building to store this energy in those parts. And in Vienna, meanwhile, some quarters were built up with this new technology, and that works quite good. But that's just the first step. The next step must be that we have to collect every kind of energy coming from the building. For example, you take a shower at 36 degrees, but the wastewater runs down the drain with 34 degrees. So that's lost energy. We have to gather this energy and to restore it in the bulky parts of the building. So we are convinced that the energy issue is the key to solve the problem, to fight against the climate change in the construction sector. Just pushing one option and discuss about green branded products is very short-sighted, because in our point of view, the climate change deserves more than just one option. And always keep in mind that building is not for one generation, it's built for many generations, and many materials are just in use, even though they are not visible.
Well, I sense an interesting competition coming up between the two of you, and it might be a good cooperation as well. Thank you. But you know, in the end, the best material needs well-founded planning and project implementation, and this is the moment when construction engineering comes into play. The Austrian Consultants Association represents Austria's highly qualified consulting engineers, and Walter Painzi is the director of the ACA. Welcome, Mr. Painzi. So how do you define the role of the ACA within the construction sector?
Thank you very much for this invitation. It's a great chance for all of us to get to know the latest development, the latest news of all this sustainability and green building. So let me give you just a brief introduction of the Austrian Consulting Association and their main goals. I'm the president of this organization, and this association is a legally established body of all the independent Austrian engineers who offer their services in every field of technology and natural science. Our association represents the professional and the business interests of all our members, and we focus on lobbying efforts on the international markets. Additionally, our organization creates framework conditions, general terms of business, and insurance framework for all our consulting engineers. In this context, I want to mention that we work also in several task forces and several in the standardization sector. That means we create technology standards as well as management standards. I want to mention here the whole family of ISO standards like quality management, environmental management, anti-bribery standards, and building information modeling standards. And last but not least, we provide also international networking opportunities, and we promote the engineering image in our society.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's an impressive range of tasks. And how successful are the Austrian consultants in the international markets?
The range, the area of activities of the consulting engineers is not only limited on the home market, it's going more and more international. That means, although the Austrian engineering companies are not as large as the international competitors, but you can find many international projects where Austrian engineers are involved. The international market for the Austrian engineering companies is about 1.5 to 1.7 billion euro each year for the last 4 or 5 years. So if you compare it with the entire Austrian GDP, it's a very respectable amount. In this context, we award also national projects for the Austrian Award of Consulting Engineers. That means, for example, some international projects like hydraulic engineering and water management, like a flood protection project in Bangkok, Thailand, or an environmental project. It was a database for wastewater management system in Ningbo, it's a district of Shanghai in China, or industrial technology like asphalt blowing unit in Thailand. That means we delivered and planning entire plant of this oxidation asphalt unit in Thailand. A city development concept in Tirana in Albania, a lightning consultancy services for a terminal in Singapore at the Changi airport. So these are only a few examples, but I can point out our range of engineering services is rather extensive, and we are able to offer engineering solutions for almost every challenge.
Well, impressive examples of your tasks, gentlemen. Thank you so much for taking part in this opening plenary session, and that you have shared your topics that will be relevant for the future of building. Well, and one of those issues that will definitely be relevant in the future is the digital transformation of the construction industry. And so it is my pleasure that we have today a true expert here with us, ready to address some of the most crucial issues in this field. Steffen Robbi is the Managing Director of Digital findet statt, a platform providing digital innovations within the construction and real estate business. He gained his expertise, for example, as a business and project manager at the AIT, the Austrian Institute of Technology, where he was responsible for the segment Digital Building Technologies.
Thank you very much. Dear Austrian Economic Chamber, dear organizers of today's conference, thank you very much for the invitation. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear participants of the conference, I was invited to talk about digital innovation in the construction industry. But it's not only about digitalization. Digitalization cannot just be for namesake and on itself. Digitalization has to contribute to the bigger picture. And it has to deliver answers on how to create sustainable and green building environment for ourselves, but also for our future generations. But before we go into details of that, please allow me to take you to a small journey. We've been locked down here on our own places, and so I think it's quite inspiring to take a look on what's happening elsewhere at the moment. I want to start this journey with the media house of Axel Springer in Berlin. Berlin has always been a very historical place, and the project that I've been chosen here is really symbolic and an outstanding example of the ongoing transformation from the analog to the digital area. Rem Koolhaas and his colleagues at OMA have really made it possible to reshape this former socialistic, really monumental big block that has been erected right on the border between East and West Germany into a modern, digital and open, invitive working environment. As you can see here in the pictures, he was being able to really create a place where all the formerly spotted companies of Axel Springer Verlag come together, have spaces for meeting, for knowledge and experience exchange, spaces for open conversations, and spaces for creativity. And the way to do that, the way to realize this really complex building and concept was by using a digital model of the building. He wasn't asked to do so, but he decided to use building information modeling, BIM, to be able to articulate his architectural ideas and the really challenging tasks he had by his client. And he successfully finished the whole project in time and in budget, which is not standard, as you might know, in Berlin. Let's stay in Berlin and look at another example for smart building. Here in the Cube, close to the main stations, in this 19,000 square meters area, we find 3,750 sensors and 750 Bluetooth beacons that are gathering a whole lot of data and information from the building infrastructure and from the users. There is a tool called the Brain that analyzes this data, and the important thing is that continuously provides a growing number of services for its users. So data is not just used for controlling the building technologies, but data is used really for the benefit of users and also for new business models. There are a growing number of applications like climate control, climate management, lighting management, like room management services, parking services, food arrangement, of course, smart energy control for facility management, communication tools, and so on. If we go to Rotterdam, the governor is a beautiful example of how it's possible to do circular economy, how it's possible to fully use recycled material already in our buildings. The architecture Macon have used waste-based bricks by the company Stone Cycling. Waste-based bricks that are made of 70% rubble and 30% clay. And the composite is actually using everything that we find on building sites. Things like ceramics, like all kind of tiles. And if you closely look on the left picture, you will see these white single spots. That's the rest of toilet bowls. Another example of energy efficiency we find, for example, in Vaduz, Liechtenstein, made by the Austrian Falkeis architects. Architectural, beautiful realization on how is it possible to really create energy autonomous buildings for our future. And there are many outstanding technologies integrated in this building and architecture. But one thing I want to stress is you see these wings there on the upper left side. They can open and close there. The building is fully stuffed with PCM, phase change material, that has a melting and freezing point at ambient temperature. So in summer, for example, if the sun is hot and we want to provide cooling and shading, these wings absorb the sun energy, store it, and reflect it to the colder ambient at night. But energy efficiency, renewable energy, doesn't always need to be part of research or really expensive in investment. Here in Vienna, directly in the 14th district, you find a great example of 100% renewable energy supply, even at low investment costs, and be used in social housing concept. In roundabout 300 flats, Lechner and partner made it possible to integrate photovoltaics, solar thermal heat pumps with geothermal storage and concrete core activation to provide heating and also cooling for the owners and users of the building. And the digital model has been the core to do energy simulation, to design the energy concept, which is really a great trade-off between low operational costs on the life cycle, but also low investment costs that would fit in the concept of social housing. So I hope I could show you that digitalization really is the foundation of our future sustainable and green building environment. And digitalization is in particular means building information modeling, BIM. This is not a new fancy tool, but this is a common language. This is a methodology, a process, step-by-step process. It all starts with 3D geometrical representations of our buildings. We have windows, we have doors, we have walls that are it starts with the geometrical model, and more information is added in the continuity of the project. We add information about time, when is which step necessary. We add information about cost. So I can, at all times of our project, I can just count together how many windows of which kind, how many doors of which kind are integrated, how many masses for walls, for roofs are integrated, and I can always do the cost calculations. And that's why BIM-based projects mostly stay in time and budget and offer much more transparency than conventional way of planning and construction. But also in operation, we have seen we can add information from climate control, from energy demand to really optimize our maintenance, our cleaning processes, demand-based cleaning, energy-optimized building operation. But the most important thing is the last step, building information modeling. The digital model of our building offers the opportunity to do to automate energy simulations, to do a material building path. That means that I always know which materials of which value are integrated in my building, and this really enables the implementation of a circular economy. I just want to give you a very simple example what that means. I think clash detection is the most common tool that is used in BIM projects. Many of you might know it. Here we see a clash of two pipes, and the planner immediately, if that's gonna happen, gets a notification and that there is a clash, that there is an error, and gets the ability to correct it. And what is happening that with this, we save not only a lot of time, but we save a lot of waste. We save a lot of resources that we urgently need. We urgently need it because the building sector, as you know, contributes massively to the global CO2 emissions. About 38% on a global scale. And if we have seen that digitalization offers really the opportunity to plan more transparently, to connect calculations, then it's quite astonishing. Then still only 5 to 15% of companies are using BIM on their daily operations. So there is a strong need to roll out this new methodology. And this need doesn't only come from a market point of view or from a legislative point of view. It basically comes from a technology point of view. As McKinsey has shown, there is quite a new range of disruptive technologies entering the market. We see not only BIM and smart buildings, but we see also industrialized construction. We see 3D printing. We see offsite productions. I think we will hear a lot of great speeches about that topic today. And we also see new global players entering the market with new business models, with knowledge about how to use data in the building industry, how to create big platforms, and how to organize this really complex process. So we really have to hurry up. And hurrying up is the reason why we have decided to found our company. Digital findet statt is a co-financed project by the Climate Ministry. It's an innovation lab that brings together big stakeholders from planning, construction and building operation, the Verband der Zivilingenieure, Facility Management Austria, Smart Construction, and together with the IWG Lebenszyklus Bau and the AIT Austrian Institute of Technology, we have set up this project and company to really push forward to drive innovation projects here in Austria. So we offer a lot of consultancy services, innovation management for research projects, for technology development, but also for new innovative BIM projects. We drive and run an academy for knowledge transfer and further education, and we provide infrastructure to demonstrate new digital solutions. So we have done a lot of projects. We have supported, for example, Reologic to combine BIM with optimized microclimate and wind flow simulations. We support the company of Delta to automatically calculate the CO2 footprint out of a BIM model. But one project I'm very proud of is the so-called ASI-Merkmal server. It's the definition and further development of BIM properties for the Austrian building sector. So with this standardization process, we provide a common language here in Austria to really use and implement and work together on one common digital model. We have joined up with the AIT Austrian Institute of Technology with Austrian standards and are supported by Building Smart. And we don't only talk about this intention to do so, but we have already got first movers to finance these projects because it's a lot of complex work and it's really the basic language that we need here for digitalization. So concluding, summing up what we have achieved, I think what I wanted to say is that if we want to create sustainable and green built environment, we really need digitalization and building information modeling as the foundation. But in order to achieve our very ambitious climate goals to 2040, we need to accelerate. We need to get speed to roll out BIM. We have very good standards. Austria is innovation leader with this standard I've just been talking about, the ASI 6241. And we now continue to further development that standard. We have the necessary digital solutions. BIM is ready to go, and much more, as I have wanted to show you, is coming. We have provided network and collaboration platforms as Digital findet statt and many others. And we also have set up educational programs. The Building Smart just introduced BIM-Cert, an international accepted standard for education in collaboration with the Austrian universities. But what is still missing is the underlying direction. What is still missing and urgently needed, as I think, is an Austrian BIM implementation strategy, something that Germany already implemented 5 years ago with the Meilenstein plan and now with the Umsetzungsstrategie. So that will give us direction and focus for the next coming years. So finally, I just want to say thank you very much. And I hope that all of you have a great, inspiring conference online this year. And I also want to invite you, let's innovate together. You can join our platform, co-create new digital innovations. So get involved, check out our contact, our website. I wish you a great conference with lots of inspiration. Thank you very much.
Steffen, Robbi, thank you very much for these precious insights and good luck with all the upcoming innovative projects.
Thanks.
Thank you, Steffen, Robbi. Well, building information modeling, obviously a must when we are talking about the future of building. And one of those topics that have become very important here in Austria recently. Well, but what about the world out there? Which trends, which challenges, which requirements, and of course, which opportunities are waiting out there for the construction industry, maybe on other continents or in other European countries? So this question opens our windows to the world. We are going to call Berlin, Copenhagen, London, and Bejing for you in the next step. And the introduction is given by the Deputy Secretary General of the Austrian Federal Economic Chamber, Mariana Kühnel.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome from my side as well to this year's Future Building Conference. It is smart, it is customer-oriented, it is digital and always future-oriented. And I'm not talking only about the factory of the future, but I'm talking about the future as a whole. Of course, we are in the middle of tremendously challenging times. COVID shows us what is not normal anymore, like a functioning single market or the worldwide connectivity of us with you and with your customers as well. These challenges we cannot expect to be over within the next weeks. But the good news about it is that our products, especially in the construction sector, are worldwide known, that Made in Austria stands for high quality, real innovation, as well as perfect service. So we as Advantage Austria see our job now to be your partner worldwide, to assist you in your success stories with your export, as we are a highly export-oriented economy and we live from successful businesses like your sector in construction. We want to create for you your individual export menu that makes you as well successful in the future on the worldwide market. This is exactly what we try with our worldwide offices, with more than 100 offices, and what we try with our window to the world to bring you, even if you sit in your house and you only look out of the window, we can be your window into the world. We start with our neighbors in Scandinavia and Germany, our biggest export nation, our export partner, and go even through Great Britain and then China. This is what we try to bring you the world into your house, to show you where we see great market potential already, where we can use your arm into new markets, and where we see that COVID might be already over and we see export chances for your business. So enjoy our trip with you through the world, even if you sit in your house at home. And this is our job, to bring you the world to you, to enable you success stories in your export business as well in the future. Enjoy the day.
Many thanks, Mariana Kühnel. Well then, let us open our first window to Germany. We are heading to Berlin, a very smart city, and we are saying good morning to the local commercial councillor Michael Scherz.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Kerschbaumer. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, from Berlin. I have the great honor to address you this morning and talk to you about a little bit about the German construction industry. As you can imagine, in a huge country like Germany, the construction industry is among the most important sectors of the economy. There are about 2.6 million employees, and last year's turnover was about 330 billion euro. Since many years, the construction industry is one of the main pillars of the German economy. It actually restarted or really got started with the German unification in the year 1989. After that moment, with the unification of both Germanies, huge amounts of money were pumped into the East German states, into renovation of desolate city centers, villages, invest a lot of money in new road links, railway links, highways, airports. And that's why today the East German states are among the German states with the best infrastructure. A new challenge arose over the last, let's say, 20 years with the immense demand of housing in the big metropolitan areas like Munich, Hamburg, Frankfurt and Berlin. The whole situation got even worse with the refugees that arrived about 5-6 years ago. And so to find affordable housing is one of the big challenges of the population of these areas. And as I said, it's a booming sector. So of course, due to, as we are very close, Austria and Germany, all big Austrian construction companies are on the market and are very successful on the market. Let me just mention a few projects that are realized by the big Austrian construction companies. For example, there's Stuttgart 21, Stuttgart 21. It's a new underground railway station in Stuttgart with underneath connection in all directions, especially towards Munich and Memmingen. There is a huge tunnel project from Stuttgart to Memmingen and also new railway links between Leipzig and Dresden and the new international airport of Berlin with the high-speed train network of Deutsche Bahn. There are other prominent projects like, for example, in Berlin, the Humboldt Forum. This is the former city palace of the Hohenzollern. And this project is realized on the ground of the former Palast der Republik of the German Democratic Republic. So there is about a new palace going to be open very soon. And the interesting thing is that 3 sides of the facade are historic facades. And the back of the building is a modern facade. And the whole interior, it will be very modern. And there are other exciting projects coming up, like the urban tech on the firmer grounds of Tegel Airport. There will be a mixed usage of this ground for housing, services, industry, and university. There will be a new University of Applied Sciences set up at the former airport of Tegel.
Well, a lot of interesting projects where Austrian know-how is involved or can be involved. Mr. Scherz, allow me another question, since we have just heard Mr. Robbi talking about digitalization and artificial intelligence. How far is or has the influence of digitalization and artificial intelligence already progressed in the construction industry in Germany?
Thank you very much for the questions, Mrs. Kerschbaumer. Yes, you're right. Digitalization and artificial intelligence are becoming more and more important for the construction industry. Let me give you a few examples. For example, the use of artificial intelligence in enhanced drones to detect dangerous situations, to monitor of production levels, and to detect dangerous situations. Robotics, AI-controlled machines, for example. Machines and vehicles save time and lower risk. Autonomics, excavators and machines can work around the clock. And there is BIM, Building Information Modeling, is a process based on 3D models that gives architects and planners insight in how buildings and infrastructure can be planned, designed and built.
Well, building information modeling, here it is again, one of those big words in the construction industry currently. So thank you so much, Mr. Scherz, and well, best wishes to Berlin.
Thank you very much.
This was Germany, Austria's most important trade partner, and just like Austria, one of those European countries with a very clear attitude towards green development. Talking about green development, the UN Sustainable Development Goals clearly and strongly promote and recommend sustainable cities and sustainable communities. And the Nordic countries are here very clear at the top of the international sustainability rankings. So let us open our next window to Copenhagen, to Cosima Steiner, Austria's commercial councillor in Denmark. Good morning, Ms. Steiner. I have just talked about the strong approach of the Nordics towards sustainability. So what would you say? How is this special approach reflected in their construction industry?
Thank you for the introduction and welcome from a very chilly Copenhagen. Well, the building sector is under huge pressure to become more sustainable, and here the Nordics are no exception. Construction makes up over a third of emissions of CO2 in the EU. Construction and demolition waste are the largest waste streams. Denmark currently recovers approximately 90% of its construction and demolition waste, but its circular material use rate, which is the share of material recovered and reused in the economy, still lies under 10%. But the Nordics are leading the way with an ambitious climate agenda. Finland, for example, wants to be carbon neutral by 2030 and climate negative shortly after. It is the world's first country with a roadmap towards the efficient and sustainable use of resources. Denmark has passed climate legislation committing to reduce emissions by 70% from 1990 levels by 2030. It is a trailblazer in green transition, especially if you consider its renewable energy production. Sweden's target is net zero emissions by 2045. The Scandi countries and Finland traditionally top sustainability rankings, and together they are pushing to become the world's most sustainable and integrated region by 2030. This drive towards a low-carbon, resource-efficient society has to include fast action in the building sector. In the current discussion, circular economy is a prominent approach. Most Nordic countries have introduced policies and strategies for the construction sectors to reduce waste and to ensure more efficient use of resources. Sweden is planning to introduce a climate declaration for the construction of new buildings in 2022. Norway is focusing on the concept of circular cities as one of its long-term climate initiatives. Denmark has introduced a strategy for circular economy with a focus on the construction sector and has published a sustainable building strategy. The emphasis is on climate-friendly building materials, including wood. Here, Denmark is becoming increasingly ambitious to build with timber and has been actively looking to Austria for know-how and solutions. Sweden and Finland also like to build with wood. A very fine example is the new multifunctional building in the Swedish city of Växjö that uses timber technology made in Austria. In Finland, a 7-year construction program has accelerated the industry's growth, and excellent results have been achieved in educational building, where the market share of wood now lies at over 30%. Finally, Norway's government is focusing on massive infrastructure projects and investments in the e-mobility sector. It is building 3 new battery factories. Here too, the circular economy approach is a driving factor during planning, construction and operation, offering a whole range of opportunities for Austrian companies to get involved. The Nordic countries consider digitalization and automation key enabling factors in making the construction industry more circular. They benefit from a frontrunner's role because they are amongst the world's most digitized regions. BIM, VDC, robotics, IoT, they are all driving forces towards construction 4.0. So what about business opportunities? Well, when looking at circular materials, it is all about finding your niche. The Nordics are very open for innovation and never say no to smart solutions. Examples of Austrian success stories include an Austrian company that produces cellulose insulation materials made of old newspapers in Sweden, or an Austrian producer of top-notch recycling machinery that has teamed up with a Finnish startup to find ways to recycle bio-based plastics into thin films. Austrian technology is also successfully participating in a Nordic race for database optimization. For example, an Austrian scale-up that has been supporting construction and real estate projects in Scandinavia with its solution for digital documentation and communication. PropTech is the buzzword and possibilities seem to be limitless. The goal is to achieve both improvements for the environment and increased efficiency through digitalization and smart buildings.
Well, seems to be a good ground for innovative Austrian companies. Ms. Steiner, you have chosen an interesting background. Would you like to explain where are you currently standing and why?
Well, thank you for noticing. This is not only because it's freezing cold out here and we are seeking shelter, but behind me is the Circle House Lab in Copenhagen. And this unassuming small building is a scalable demonstration project aimed at providing the construction industry with new knowledge about the experience of circular building. It serves as a life-size mock-up for the Circle House project. And the real-life Circle House project will consist of 60 social housing units outside the Danish city of Aarhus. That, once finished, will be the world's first social housing units built according to circular principles. The objective is for 90% of construction material to be reusable without losing any value. Construction can be disassembled and the elements recycled. Many of the companies involved in the project are Danish, but not all of them are. Denmark is a small open economy that embraces innovative solutions from the outside. Denmark's ambition to be the first mover while simultaneously welcoming international collaboration opens possibilities for proactive Austrian companies with innovative products and services. Our recommendation for the Nordics: screen the market, engage, and become part of such innovative initiatives.
Clear words coming from Copenhagen. Cosima Steiner has spoken for the Nordics. Thank you so much for these impressions and have a good day in Copenhagen, Ms. Steiner. I hope it's getting warmer there pretty soon. Well, there is a lot of green power in the Nordics, obviously. But let us now switch to the other side of the globe. Let us move on to Asia. And let us open the next window to Bejing. Andrea Kubista is the Deputy Commercial Councillor there. Good morning, or rather good afternoon to Bejing. Ms. Kubista, what are the current trends and developments in the East Asian countries regarding the future of building?
Schönen guten Morgen aus Peking, good morning from Beijing. When talking about the future of building, one has to talk about Asia. The majority of the world's largest megacities are located in Asia, and the Asian Development Bank estimates that in the next 20 years, more than 1 billion people will be moving to Asia's cities. That means that there is an urgent need for a smarter and greener development of Asia's urban centers. Some of the most rapid increases in urbanization rates over the past few decades have been observed here in China. Within the next 15 years, more than 2/3 of China's population will be living in cities. But while China is very well known for having made quite impressive technological advances in different sectors, it is not well known for its performance in the green building field. A lot needs to be done when it comes to making buildings more sustainable, for reducing the energy consumption of buildings. Just to give you an idea of the numbers that we are talking about here, China accounts for about 16% of the world's total final energy consumption in buildings. So green building will be at the core of China's efforts to reduce its carbon emissions. With the new 5-year plan, China wants to reach a peak in its emissions by 2030 and go carbon neutral by 2060. So it is a big market to watch for Austrian companies that supply technologies, be it environmental technologies or technologies in the building sector. Beyond China, South Korea is also working on a post-COVID economic recovery plan that is very much centered around a smart and sustainable development of the country. This Green New Deal, as it is called, shall promote renewable energy, green mobility, and a smart and green city development. To move Korea towards a low-carbon future, the upgrading of buildings to become more energy efficient will play an important role. Another very different market, Japan, has a longer standing tradition in the green building sector. They have a longer tradition in terms of building with wood, for example, and they are working on making their cities both smarter, greener, and ultimately more livable for their citizens. One example that is worth mentioning is Toyota's Woven City. This is a very interesting project. Toyota is envisioning a city of the future, one could say, a city where researchers and residents live together, can enjoy the latest digital technologies in a city that is built with sustainable materials, such as wood, and powered by renewable energy sources.
Well, Toyota obviously has a new definition of smart cities. So, Ms. Kubista, what do you think does all this mean for Austrian companies?
Well, already back in 2015, an Austrian architecture firm, Schöberl & Pöll, which also won the Austrian Green Planet Building Award a few years ago, completed China's first certified passive house in Zhuozhou, close to Bejing. Buildings such as this one have been springing up more frequently in China in the past few years. And if East Asian governments are to stick to their goals, there will be a massive push for the green building industry in the years to come. For Austrian companies, that means that they have an opportunity to supply their expertise, their know-how, be it in terms of sustainable building technology, high performance, energy efficient materials, or assisting, for example, with the upgrade of and retrofitting of existing structures, which are often not up to the current state of the art. Another important aspect could be solutions to monitor a building's efficiency over the entire life cycle from its construction to its ultimate use.
Well, promising opportunities coming up in East Asia. Thank you so much, Ms. Kubista, and warm greetings to Beijing. Well, back to Europe, back to a country that is unfortunately no longer a part of the European Union. You all know what I'm talking about. And it is a country that is currently struggling with two major issues, same time. Commercial Councillor Vera Maier welcomes us in London. Ms. Maier, I know that you have been extremely busy currently, and I guess you still are. So let me take you straight into the question and into the topic. So what does the double crisis of Brexit and COVID definitely mean for the construction industry in Britain?
Hello from London. The current crisis has indeed had a fundamental impact on the United Kingdom. The last 12 months have been challenging for all of us. Around the world, COVID-19 has swept in and triggered an unprecedented health, social and economic crisis. And struggling with less than ideal preconditions and a health system suffering from years of underinvestment, the UK was hit exceptionally hard. And as the curtains came down on the final act of the Brexit drama on the 31st of December, the UK was in for a double whammy. The consequences of its exit from the EU compounding the economic fallout of the pandemic. So no wonder the economic outlook is rather bleak. A return to pre-crisis output levels is not expected before the end of 2023, considerably behind the rest of Europe. But just as every cloud has a silver lining, the UK's economic struggles have a green one. In response to the economic crisis, the UK government has implemented substantial support measures for businesses and followed up with an ambitious and forward-looking economic policy, including substantial investment programs for the construction and the infrastructure sector. The UK's 2020 budget contains infrastructure expenditure worth some 730 billion euros over the next 5 years. Just for comparison, this is roughly equivalent to the GDP of Switzerland. The spending spree includes the commencement of major works on the HS2 high-speed rail line connecting London to the north, and it is currently Europe's largest construction project, valued at around 100 billion euros. There are also major investments in roads, such as the iconic Lower Thames Crossing or the new Stonehenge Tunnel, and significant investment is planned in energy, environmental and communications infrastructure. Prime Minister Boris Johnson also took a leaf out of his role model Winston Churchill's book. It was Churchill who suggested we should never let a good crisis go to waste. And the British government intends to link its plans for the economic recovery with the country's pioneering climate policy, based around a comprehensive 10-point plan to build back not only better, but also greener. As the first major economy to legislate for net zero in 2050, the UK's vision is to tackle climate change while simultaneously supporting hundreds of thousands of jobs across the UK, leading the economy out of the corona slump. The plan heralds Britain's green industrial revolution and is worth roughly 13.4 billion euros in public investment. Covers it all: clean energy, clean transport, green building, the conservation of the natural environment, and of course, innovative technologies. An energy white paper published in December has already set out concrete measures to pave Britain's road to a net zero carbon future, spanning the whole energy cycle, from production to distribution and to consumption. A key focus is on private, commercial and public buildings, whose greenhouse gas emissions account for almost 1/5 of the UK's total. This makes buildings the second largest source of emissions after transport, producing more than even the industrial sector. 90% of homes in England currently use fossil fuels for heating, cooking and hot water generation. 2/3 of all homes, that's roughly 16 million households, have an energy performance rating of D or below. The potential for a green building revolution is enormous, and it is one of the central themes of the white paper. A mix of future-oriented regulation and policies, combined with grants and financial incentives, will, it is hoped, trigger private investment and positive change. A future home standard is designed to ensure that new homes are built zero carbon ready, and the Green Home Finance Initiative should enable existing ones to upgrade the current energy rating. Furthermore, the Green Homes Grant Scheme promotes the installation of insulation, heat pumps, solar thermal heating systems among private households, as well as to retrofit new windows, doors, heating controls. So even with new hurdles and barriers to overcome, now is the time for Europe's and the world's green builders to take center stage, be it manufacturers of equipment and smart materials or the providers of innovative technologies, solutions, services. Take a good look at the British market, and heeding Churchill, do not let this crisis go to waste.
Well, thank you for this quote. These are encouraging words, I guess, for so many of us. Ms. Maier, as we are already talking about the British Isles, what is the situation in Ireland?
The Republic of Ireland is also on the verge of a gold rush in retrofitting and in green building. Both are top priorities for the Irish government right now. Domestic homes are responsible for 1/4 of overall energy use and 10% of overall greenhouse gas emissions. The country has set about to reduce these emissions from the residential sector by 50% by 2030. 500,000 residential units are to be upgraded to a building energy rate of at least B2, and 600,000 new heat pumps installed all over the country. There are also new and growing opportunities for roofing, for structural materials, cladding, insulation, finishes, in short, everything that improves energy efficiency. Due to the scarcity and the cost of qualified labor, though, products that are easy to install are likely to be the best sellers. So in a nutshell, there are great reasons to look at the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland right now. Both have a disproportionately large stock of old buildings, and together they form one large and promising market.
Well, it's so interesting. Thank you so much for these open and yet encouraging words, Ms. Maier. Have a great day in London and good luck for all these upcoming challenges you have to deal with currently. Well, this was the last window to the world. A big thank you to the 4 commercial councillors who gave us an impression about the situation out there. Well, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, more than 100 offices of Advantage Austria bring together foreign purchasers and Austrian exporters in order to create a strong platform to boost the internationalization of the Austrian building and construction industry worldwide. Well, so far we have talked a lot about the innovative power of Austrian enterprises. So let us now take a closer look at exactly these innovations. 3 panels are ready to analyze the most recent developments for us. Let us now step into the fields of innovation. The first one dealing with healthy materials and healthy buildings. Christian Wondros is going to host this panel for us. He's an expert in this field, running his own business, CV Consulting, that he has started in 2016. He concentrates on sales and business development for innovative solutions with a strong influence on health and sustainability. His partners are the material industry and real estate developers, a captivating combination for realizing both a healthy indoor and outdoor environment. So I hand over the stage to Christian Wondros. Welcome.
Mrs. Kerschbaumer, thank you very much for the nice introduction. Yes, in the last 15 years, the building industry has made a very huge progress in reducing the energy consumption. Up to 100% if you think in the zero energy buildings. But airtight houses has to take care a lot of the indoor air because it's vulnerable to some influences as CO2, humidity, VOCs and other emissions which might be risky for our health. And that's the reason that I'm going to present you today companies who render solutions, that means services and products, with a positive effect on the indoor air and the outdoor air. So let us first have the speech of Mr. Haugeneder. He's coming from ATP Architects and Engineers, and ATP is one of the largest integrative designers in Europe. With more than 1,100 employees in more than 10 places working in Europe, they concentrate on all kinds of real estates. On offices, on health, on shopping, on industry, and on logistics. And ATP Sustain itself is a member of the ATP group and specialized in the research in building physics and in sustainable design. They're working with 25 people in Vienna and in Munich. Mr. Haugeneder is a member of the ATP board, and he has got more than 25 years of experience in the MEP designer and assessor and consulting of sustainable building. Welcome to Mr. Haugeneder.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I will give you in 5 minutes some experience what we have with the EU Green Deal and how it works with healthy materials and healthy buildings. Everybody knows the EU Green Deal and the status of the EU taxonomy, that the EU taxonomy will give us the chance not only for climate protection, will give us the chance to build better buildings and to look at the qualities of the different buildings. What is the EU taxonomy? The EU taxonomy is some kind of tool against greenwashing of the real estate market to supporting healthier buildings. So it will manage the risks based on non-financial disclosure requirements. The EU taxonomy applies on new construction as well as major renovation, what you can see, and on existing buildings, and 6 different sectors, and 2 sectors of these 6 different sectors are for the topics for healthier environment, indoor environment, as well as outdoor environment. So circular economy and environmental pollution are these 2 topics which are part of the EU taxonomy. What's in this in these 2 topics? Basically, for indoor materials, asbestos and other different harmful materials are forbidden. And there are special limits for VOCs and formaldehyde. So these emissions the taxonomy will report this. So everybody has to show which kind of emission are in the building or outside the building. And one major topic is during construction and maintenance work, it's not allowed to have other pollutions, noise and dust to protect the neighbors. The EU taxonomy will force the circular economy as well. So the circular economy is one major part in the European Union. And if we want to have circular economy, we have to go to reuse and recycling process without harmful substances. So we need different construction techniques, and we have to ban these harmful materials from our building. Then it's possible to have this reuse and recycling process in our buildings. How can you get a healthier building? What are the goals? The EU taxonomy on one side for new construction have the goal to minimize the indoor risks and to minimize unhealthy environment for the future. And for existing buildings, to show which kind of materials are in the building and to manage or to work on a PTCA management plan. So to look which materials are in the building and how can I solve these problems for the future. That's are the major parts for the taxonomy and these green buildings. So I think the EU taxonomy is a new tool what we have to use in the real estate market to show these qualities of buildings. And when we show the different qualities of buildings, I think the real estate market will change their philosophy, how to build buildings in the future, and to look more on these substances and materials and to build better buildings for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haugeneder. Very interesting. A new field from the financial sector. How do you think will the EU taxonomy have an influence on the building industry and the real estate industry regarding the healthy indoor environment?
I think next year everybody has to show, or different companies have to show the 6 topics what I have in my speech, and to declare or to show everybody which kind of materials are used in the building. And so I think the market will change what they want to have from the real estate market, from the finance market, and they want to have healthier and better buildings. So this it's not a law or a requirement for the building or for real estate. It's a law for the financial market, but they have to show how bad or how good a building is, and everybody wants to show how good a building is, so that will change it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And is there an action plan to minimize the risk for the investors or the owners of buildings?
We have in the future, next year, the real estate market has to show this or has to answer the questions in this regulation and to show it. And the next steps are 2025 and 2030, where I think the EU will have benchmarks and will give the real estate market a direction how to handle the buildings in the future.
Fine, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's very interesting. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So I'm going to present you our next speaker, Mr. Haugeneder, the CEO of the company Consultair. With more than 25 years of experience in the ventilation and air conditioning industry, he has become an expert in the particle toxicology, and since 2016, his company provides a very special innovative technology to reduce the ultra-fine particles in the indoor air. Dear Mr. Brauneck, please let us have your speech. Thank you.
Welcome, and thank you very much for the invitation. We present a solution which reduces all kinds of small particles, including the SARS-CoV-2 virus from the room air. Because of their sizes, viruses like the SARS-CoV-2 belong to the so-called ultra-fine particles, particles which we call UFP. These small particles are about 500 to 1,000 times smaller than the human hair. These ultra-fine particles, or UFP, are very dangerous because they enter through the lung barrier, our bloodstream, and get into every part of our body. But UFB can also enter the brain directly through the swelling nerves, enters the human fetus via the mother, and according to the World Health Organization criteria, UFB is classified as more dangerous than cigarette smoking. There are more than 400 scientific studies proving the health effects of UFB on the human body, including allergies, asthma, headaches, lung diseases, tumors, heart attacks, Alzheimer's disease, and many more. Meanwhile, we all know that to fight the spread of COVID-19, the social distancing of 1 meter or even 2 meters might not be enough, as the virus, like all UFB, is so small and so light that it floats in the air for a long time. In fact, COVID may float in the air for 72 hours until it drops to the floor. The sources of UFB may be from nature through volcanoes, but most UFB is produced by man from state-of-the-art combustion engines, industry processes, and modern braking systems, just to name the most important ones. And we can't really protect ourselves from UFB either, unless you live at the polar ice caps. So what can be done? How can ultrafine dust in the air and viruses be prevented in the room air? Well, in fact, the best strategy is to use the one nature is using. Nature has its self-purification strategy for the air, which are essentially small atoms and small molecules which are negatively charged, which we call air ions. Nature produces lots of these air ions in waterfalls, rivers, waves, during thunderstorms and other natural effects. But unfortunately, air ions are reduced because of plastic, fine dust, smoke, and ventilation systems. That is why in the inner city areas, there are hardly any air ions left. But air ions are very important because air ions can reduce UFB due to the negative charge, which leads to a so-called agglomeration or clustering of the ultra-fine particles. And the particles become larger and then heavier and fall to the floor and are less easily breathed into the lungs. The effect of the particle reduction of up to 98% can be measured, and therefore also the danger of being infected with viruses like SARS-CoV-19 through the secondary pathways is greatly reduced. Besides this very important effect of reduction of particles, VOCs, formaldehydes, allergens, terpene in the air ions have two further big advantages. Nearly 200 scientific studies describe the positive effect of air ions on human health, like a proven 10 to 15% increase in mental health and physical performance. And the fourth major advantage of air ions in the air lies in the healing effect of tumor patients, which was discovered in the first time in 1940 already, and was since then scientifically proven many times. There are several examples where this effect is demonstrated. Here's an example from a hospital in the Netherlands, where since 2006, room air activation systems, as we call the systems, have been installed in 21 OP rooms, and the aerosol load of the room is measured every year. In this diagram, the result is shown: germs and aerosols in the air, 0. Another very recent example was installed in the Opera in Chemnitz, Germany, and there are many more references proving the healthy effect of positive air ions in the room. Even the most innovative car manufacturers are using this technology today. The air activation system Pro-EO consists of various components, and the capacity and number of the components depend on the ventilation system it is built in. Finally, here's an example how the components of an air activation system is built into a ventilation system. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Brownick. A look to the invisible parts of the air, but with their hazards on our life. Is it possible to filter out these parts also with normal filters in the standard and the regular ventilation systems?
Well, unfortunately not, because filters, even high quality filters like an F9 filter, as we call it, filter only particles up to a size of 0.2 micrometers. All the particles which are smaller cannot be filtered. And for example, the SARS-CoV-19 has a size of 0.12 to 0.06 micrometers, so much smaller than that.
And there are some other systems also on the market. And what is the difference to the standalone devices and your Pro-IO system?
Well, our system is working with the ventilation system which is already installed, but it is not changing any performance of the ventilation system. And the standalone units, as the name says, are completely independent, smaller units which are in each room, and they only treat the air of each room. And there are many products on the market, but only few are very good. The good ones need a lot of space. They are heavy usually, and they need a lot of changes of filters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much for the explanation.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
So let me welcome our next speaker, Mr. Steffen Erker from Slavonia Baubedarf GmbH. Mr. Erker is the CEO of this company in Vienna, and they are producing solutions for watertight membranes and facade systems. And the very special point of this company is that it is providing innovative solutions constantly since 120 years. So let's hear the new presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for your introduction, Mr. Wondrus. From my side, I also want to welcome everyone out there joining the Future of Business conference. Our company was founded 1893 in Austria and is owned by our family. The name of Slavonia comes from the Slavonian oak from the eastern region of Croatia, which has unique characteristics. With this oak, parquet and veneers were produced in Vienna. Today, Slavonia offers a wide range of products, starting 1962 with innovative polymer-modified bitumen waterproofing membranes with the brand Isoflam. Isoflam waterproofing membranes are used for flat roofs, green roofs, and bridges. In the 1980s, after the oil crisis, Slavonia developed the speedy fixing system for ventilated facades. The speedy facade system can be used for suspended ceilings, photovoltaic facades, and green facades, and slab-to-slab fixed facades. Slavonia developed 2013 a concrete protection system for tunnel, sealing, and coating, which can also be used for other applications. Furthermore, a wood preservation and a fire safety development are also part of our portfolio. Starting with roofing, our Isoflam APP polymer modified waterproofing membranes have a higher quality than norms and standards require. Therefore, they can be installed in a one-layer system in combination with an epoxy resin without solvents for bridges. For ballasted and exposed flat roofs, Isoflam can also be installed in a one-layer system. As you can see on the left photo, Isoflam still looks good after 30 years. To consider the durability of the roof is very important, especially when you plan to install a photovoltaic system on the roof. Otherwise, it can be really expensive in the future. For green roofs, there is an additional requirement that the waterproofing membranes have to be root resistant. Slavonia offers since 25 years the first and only root resistant bituminous waterproofing membrane without chemical treatments for extensive and intensive roofs. Our next division is our Speedy Fixing System. Speedy is a certified metal subconstruction available in corrosion-protected steel and stainless steel. The Speedy brackets are available in lengths up to 900 mm. On the photo you can see a 3D suspended ceiling, which was realized with special lens on a high-rise building on stilts. Also on the facade, 3D shapes can be easily implemented, as you can see in the right photo. And all kinds of cladding materials can be fixed with the speedy facade system. Static calculations and building physics are also part of our service. Here you have further application examples for the speedy facade systems. The photovoltaic facade is getting more and more popular. It is an additional value when the facade produces electricity, as you can see on the left photo. Two versions are available, the glass models and the framed panels. Also, green facades offer an additional value, especially in major cities with little green areas. They help cooling the city and the interior of a building. Our facade was developed with 3 universities, and the result was a brand new innovative system. The maximum weight of the green facade is only 50 kilograms per square meter, and the facade is immediately green after installation. The green wall has an integrated irrigation and monitoring system to guarantee the functionality. On the right photo, you can see the green facade, how it looks in autumn. Our products are developed and produced at its best to last for decades, not only to meet the minimum requirements of standards and regulations. For more information, please visit our website, slavonia.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Erker, for giving us a glance into the building envelopes. You have mentioned something like waterproofing membranes without chemical parts, without biocides. This seems to be very important for the future of sustainable buildings. What does this mean in detail?
That means when you plan to make a green roof, you have to consider that you have a waterproofing system which is root resistant, which are installed. These bitumen root resistant waterproofing membranes are produced with a root inhibiting chemical treatment, for example, Mecroprop, which is washed out every time when it's raining. This biocide remains in the soil, and filter plants have have a problem to clean this out. Our product is mechanically root resistant, and therefore it needs no chemical treatments.
Thank you very much. Very interesting for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now let's welcome our next guest, Mr. Bertrand Gosset from the company KLH. Welcome. KLH is a very strong producer of CLT, cross-laminated timber. It's the marketing leader. And these elements are used for roofs, for structural walls, and for ceilings, ceiling elements. And since its start of the production in 1999, they have already realized 30,000 projects worldwide. And Mr. Bertrand Gosset has been working for KLH since 8 years, and he is responsible for the worldwide sales, primarily for the market in Europe and the business development in Asia, South America, and Africa. He's French, and he is living since 20 years in Austria. So I welcome Mr. Gosset. Please, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Merci. Good morning to all. It's a pleasure to be part of Future of Building once again. It's a pity we cannot meet in Vienna, but it's great that we can meet like this online. So I've got 5 minutes to present you KLH. I've got 5 minutes to talk a little bit about CLT. I guess a few of you have heard of KLH and many of you have heard about CLT. CLT, cross-laminated timber. It's actually the English translation of KLA, Kreuzlagenholz. And that's because KLA, my company, has been the pioneer of CLT. The company did not invent it, but the company really developed it from a technological point of view, from a production point of view, and from a commercial point of view. So we started more than 20 years ago, and now since 1997, we have delivered more than 30,000 projects in the world. In the presentation, I will show a few projects which were made with KLH panels to demonstrate the capability of the product. As Christian Fondus said, this element, cross-laminated timber, are made of different layers of wood, which are glued together, and that makes a structural panel, that makes a structural element. So the one thing which is very important to understand is that we are talking about a building material. Nowadays, you can build with CLT, you can build with KLH panels instead of bricks, instead of concrete. There are projects everywhere, and I will show projects in the world. Most of the markets right now are in Europe. I mean, Austria is the mother country of CLT. But it shows that the perspective is great in the world. And there are interest in Asia, in South America, also in North America. I will show a few projects. First project, you see this tower, 10-story building. 9-story of CLT, which you can see on your right on side. 1 story of concrete, 9-story of CLT that was made 9 years ago. Back then, it was the tallest building in the world. Since then, there are taller buildings in the world. And the interesting factor is that the quickness of construction. It took 38 days to install this whole CLT structure, all the walls, all the ceilings, and also the roof. It would have taken for 20 weeks and 30 workers to do it with concrete. Next project to illustrate what's possible with CLT, you see here an extension. 10 stories were built on an existing 6 stories building, also Australia, and that was made possible because of the weight of timber. Timber has a weight of 500 kilo per cubic, as opposed to 2.5 tons for concrete. So it's much lighter, and therefore you can build an older panel. Showing here also as well is the ecological aspect of timber. Timber is a material, wood is a material that captures CO2. And instead of emitting CO2, you see here, thanks to this building, almost 3,000 tons of CO2 were captured. It's equivalent to 600 cars per year. So, next project. Here we are showing a school, a kindergarten in Japan. Timber is very popular for kids. They like these materials. And as you can see here, all the ceilings, internal ceilings, are visible panels. So you can not only make your ceilings, but it's fully ready. You do not need to complete your structure. Last project I'm showing is an office which was made in Canada. And here we want to illustrate how timber can be combined with other materials. You see here, the CLT panels are inside. These are the ceilings and these are the walls. And they are combined with a glass and steel facade. So it shows it's a material, building material that can actually also be combined with other material. Last sentence, which we are always using, 19th century steel, 20th century concrete, come back here, 21st century, so we believe, wood. Timber will not replace concrete or steel immediately, but timber will continue to grow and to become a very important building material in the world.
Thank you, Mr. Gosset, also for the tour through the whole world of KLH constructions. We know wood is a very comfortable and very homely material. Which effects do you think is the most important on humans?
I think it's a so-called feel-good factor. During my presentation and through the project we showed, I insisted on the building properties of timber. You are quick, you are ecological, but actually it's more than this. It's not only a building material, it's a material that is very pleasant. When you live in wood, it's comfortable, it's cozy, it's also healthy. Think of your own, maybe apartment or your own house. You would use tiles in your kitchen, you would use tile in your bathroom, but coming to your living room, what do you want? Tiles, or you prefer carpet or wood, a parquet? Think of your furniture. Who has only steels or glass or plastic furniture? We all have wood furniture. Why? Because we like it, because it's a living material, because it's pleasant. And it's actually showing, there are some studies showing that the perception of temperature is a bit higher with wood.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and are there studies which could prove also the effect on human beings coming from wood?
So there are a couple of studies and a couple of comparisons which have been made showing that wood is a healthy material. Actually, maybe the most interesting one is the schools, which is studies that was made about school. Here in Austria, 2 classrooms were analyzed and measured. One classroom traditional, made with concrete, linoleum on the ground, and the other one was made with wood walls and wooden ceilings. 50 pupils, 50 kids were measured, analyzed during 1 year. They were about 6 and 7, and between the first and second year of school. The result of this measurement showed a lower heartbeat, and it was calculated that there were exactly 8,600 fewer heartbeats in a wooden class as opposed to a traditional class. And the result also coming out of this survey showed that the pupils, the kids, were calmer. They were fighting less. They were more concentrated when learning. There were less conflict in this classroom. So that was very interesting to show how healthy the environment is. Don't take me wrong. We are not pretending that you will live 5 years longer if you live in a wooden house. But we are pretending that it is a nice, healthy environment, as it is good to live in wood.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gosset.
Thank you.
I think we have got a very nice picture on the innovation fields in the future, which has already started. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Christian Bondrus, and this outstanding panel of experts. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Well, let's dive straight into the next panel dealing with smart solutions for construction. Karin Stieldorf is the host of this panel. She is an associate professor of sustainable building at the Vienna University of Technology. Her research projects and publications focus on holistic design methods in architecture, based on building physics and building ecology, and using building simulation systems as design decision support. She founded the Sustainable Building and Design Working Group at the university and leads a master course program for sustainable design. She gained international experience by working for the International Energy Agency and on EU research projects. She has won several awards, and ladies and gentlemen, I could continue with this impressive CV even longer. But let us proceed to smart solutions for construction. Welcome, Karin Stieldorf.
Well, thank you very much for your kind introduction, Mrs. Kerschbaumer. I will now follow up on her introductory words and continue the round of introductions, starting with a new, remarkable building system that could outturn to be revolutionary on the building materials market, called red block systems. Just a few years ago, prefabrication and modular construction did not seem very promising for many planners and companies. That has changed a lot on the basis of red block's continuous and consistent development process. The next presentation, the first presentation, will show this impressively. Red block offers a whole coordinated package and shows how prefabrication new can work. Markus Pichler, please come on stage. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Welcome to everybody. My company has been in the brick industry since more than 200 years. This is our core business. We are facing new challenges in our branch. Stone on the construction site, that was yesterday. Our industry needs answers to industrial prefabrication. And that's the reason why we developed an innovative system for the production of all elements made of mineralic building blocks. And this I would like to present to you now. The McKinsey Institute made a very interesting study about the performance and the productivity of the construction industry, called Reinventing Construction. And a brief summary of the findings in this study. There is a high demand on social housing, on affordable housing, and on the other hand, a lack of skilled workers. Other industries like automotive increased their productivity by over 2,000% since the 50s of last century. The construction industry had a raise in productivity over the last 20 years of 1% per year. The construction industry has a share of 13% of the worldwide GDP, which amounts to $10 trillion and a forecast of plus 40% by 2024. According to the study, the construction industry has an enhancing potential of 5 to 10-fold. The statements made by McKinsey were already visible a decade or more than a decade ago, and for this reason we have intensively been engaged in the topic of prefab with our building material, and we have developed and led the RepBlock systems to market maturity. Our system is simple, fast, and fully automated. Although we come from the ceramic sector, our production lines can process all mineralic building materials like brick, aerated concrete, silica blocks, cement blocks in wall thicknesses from 10 to 50 centimeters. Our advantages. Our system is absolutely flexible in terms of shape of buildings and also in the shape of elements to be produced. Just in time is our program. From production to delivery takes less than an hour. Even installation channels or cutouts for electric cables and sockets can be produced fully automatically. This leads to almost no waste on the construction site. Due to the industrial production, we achieve a very high and constant quality. Building contractors can handle more projects with the same amount of people. The fact that only assembly is carried out on the construction site means that one is not more so much dependent on weather conditions. And we have explored new ways with the transport and assembly system. This is reusable and nothing remains in the wall. So how fast can a house be built with our system? See the picture on the right. From Monday to Thursday in only 4 days, including ceilings and roof. So this is our contribution to the 4-day working week. Everything from single-family homes, row houses, social houses, hotels, hospitals, schools, everything is possible. So what do we offer? We offer an innovative system for the production of prefab elements made of building blocks. We design, build and supply semi and fully automated plants. We have paid great attention to scalability and to modular construction. It is possible to start with a simple semi-automated line and upgrade it to a fully automated at a later stage. During the conception of the plant, we respond individually to the special requirements of our customers. Due to the degree of automation, we achieve a very high level of productivity at a low labor cost. Our plants are turnkey, including CAD/CAM software, machine delivery, assembly, and commissioning. We make available the know-how we have acquired in production and also on the construction site, and your employees will be trained at our facilities. For additional information, please visit our webpage, redblocksystems.com. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for your interesting presentation, Mr. Pichler. There's still a few details of your package that our audience might be interested in. How many square meters of wall can be produced in one shift with semi or fully automatic systems?
With a semi-automated system or line, you can make approximately 100 to 150 square meters, and the fully automated depends always a little bit on the shape of the building, but from 400 to 500 square meters in a shift.
And what is the approximate investment required for such a system?
We start with a simple semi-automatic at about 600,000 euros, and that goes up to 3.54 million for an advanced, fully automated line.
And how many of your systems are there already working? And where are they located?
All over. We have right now 9 plants are working, mainly in Europe, but also we have 1 plant in Russia, close to the Ural Mountains. So, but as I said, mainly Europe, and 9 facilities are working and 3 are under construction.
Thank you very much
for
your informative answers. And we have to come to our next speaker.
Thank you.
There are 2 reasons why Thomas Romm founded the Baukarussell. Years of intensive observation on the construction scene on the one hand, and the Building Material Recycling Ordinance, Baustoffrecyclingverordnung, on the other. Once more, I'm trying to translate the name of the group Thomas will present. It could be called Construction Carousel, which I understand as a synonym for circular economy. Again, the goal was to make building procedures sustainable and, above all, to change the way we handle building materials in the direction of recyclability. Please welcome Thomas Romm, and look forward to hear his ideas about how new paths can be found to reach these goals and how new clients can be won to join in. Please, Thomas, come on stage.
I'm Thomas Romm. I'm an architect, and architects are used to digital technologies. We're using BIM, Building Information Modeling, is generating and providing information about material, about the sustainability of material, about the circularity of material. Baukarussell is using this digital planning process just by doing the reverse mode. We are using BIM to make every building circular. We create urban mining concepts to recover what usually gets lost. We locate, collect, and sort these valuable and precious resources during the demolition phase. And of course, you might say, metal is collected anyway on the site. But I can tell you, the contractor has no manpower to collect and sort these precious, non-ferrous metals, or even to prepare building components for reuse. And this is what we do. We are doing social urban mining because we have the manpower with social enterprises who work for an added value in construction of deconstruction buildings. This added value is generated by recovering materials, precious metals like copper and aluminium, and is in its revenue exchanged for work of social enterprises, work for preliminary dismantling work on the project. And third, last but not least, we are offering to reuse or to prepare for reuse building components that we can regain in these objects. So social urban mining integrates social business in circular construction. Baukarussell is social urban mining. We did even invent the word. Let me give you an example. simple example of a last late project we did for the building, for the BIC, the Bundesimmobiliengesellschaft, the biggest player in Austrian real estate and construction. And in the preparation phase, in the planning phase of the medical university in Vienna's 9th district, we had 1 year to recover almost 100 tons of valuable, precious resources and about the same amount of reuse or reusable objects. So the client saves time for the demolition phase afterwards. He reduces waste and he invests all this revenues with a social impact. So these are our social urban miners, our local partners, which we connect to the construction world. Baukarussell is combining and connecting employment with circular economy. And therefore, there's an enormous impact, a social impact, and a ecological impact. Thank you.
Thank you for your impressive presentation, Thomas. I have spontaneous questions about it. How do you discover all these building projects? Where do you find them?
Oh, the projects find us. Baukarussell is quite popular.
Well, and most what you do takes really a long breath. What is necessary so that you can continue on the path you have successfully started? And what kind of help would you as a pioneer want to be offered?
Well, beyond the legal framework, which is necessary to have more continuous work in this field, we need the engagement and the encouragement of our clients, of the big real estate owners.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you have been also very successful in finding these clients. Well, thank you very much, Thomas, for your explanations. I hope that things will develop the way you described for us. Thank you. The next presentation and also very concise input of this panel comes from Walter Kreisel. I would like to introduce Walter Kreisel to you. Walter Kreisel is the founder and CEO of the NEON Group, which is committed to the sustainable energy supply of buildings. He says, in the future, buildings should at least generate the energy they need themselves. If possible, even more, so that e-mobility becomes feasible and buildings even generate income. Walter Kreisel will now describe in more detail how real estate 2.0 should and could be developed. Walter, please come on stage.
Thank you for the fantastic introduction. I'm Walter Kreisel, and thank you for this wonderful panel. We, the NEON Group, build decentralized, independent, future-proof energy systems. Based on renewable energies, we develop business models delivering added valued services for the next generations. Clean, transparent, and secure. With our products, energy storage and charging solutions, and our cutting-edge turnkey products for battery storage, charging, and energy automation, we engineer and develop the NEON products and industrialize it by external professional partners. The NEON Group takes care that the energy can be produced on-site, stored on-site, and transformed to services as mobility, heat, and cold, and electricity, which is needed everywhere in the real estate market. And what is the digitalization without electrification? You need both. The intuitive energy management software, which connects, optimizes, and visualizes all your important data based on your energy demand in your building. NEON trusts in the software, energy costs you have always in your view, and on-site and on remote. So what means that? That means combining electricity and digitalization on-site in a real estate building to produce on the facade, under the roof, as much as possible energy and you can store it, means it's energy as a service. Which advantages you will have? You reduce your power costs by maximize your self-generated power and make peak shaving and peak shifting. You increase security by protect you from blackouts and bring your grid as a secondary layer. And this brings you ready for the future. So think also in virtual power plants, next services up to energy communities, and don't forget the CO2, which you reduce by producing your own energy and bring the peaks down from the grid. These are some wonderful, fantastic references which we bring with you from the industry of the galvanizing company, then the car dealers, or also smart cities in Astana. So the NEOM Group and Austrian Scale-Up will help you to bring the real estate business to the next level. Thank you from my side.
Walter, thank you for your presentation. May I add 2 questions concerning your work that might be interesting for our audience? How can the processes that you have described become faster? And how can your concepts be further disseminated and spread widely? Will this change real estate industry or even other parts of the industry?
There is one thing, we have to integrate all the stakeholders in the real estate business. It begins from the architect who have to think in completely new ways. We have to think about the whole grid connection, about heat and electricity. And we have to think about the behavior, how we consume energy. And all that together brings us in the next level of creating services and business models on top of that.
Thank you very much, Walter, for your presentation and for your well-explaining and valuable answers. Thank you.
Thank you also.
We're coming to a last presentation within this panel. I tried to translate the name of Querkraft. It could be called transverse force in English. Well, the office definitely stands for powerful implementations of the ideas for the projects entrusted to them. Innovation and new structural thinking are deliberately at their center. Their designs are always precisely tailored to the respective situation, always surprising, and have the talent to be remembered. Clemens Russ is part of Querkraft and will tell us in a moment how, from his point of view, the renovation of building processes and technology can succeed in general, and show it with an interesting example. Clemens, may I ask you to come on stage, please?
Thanks, Mrs. Stieldorf. And thanks to the Federal Economic Chamber for the invitation. Clemens Russ from Querkraft Architects. We're a Vienna-based architectural company since 23 years. And let's say in the building industry, in the construction industry, you kind of get confronted with the situation that you are part of 40% of climate, all of carbon emissions. And we in our office always try to do our best to tackle that. Our office is as well very proud to be the general planning team, and I'm the lead architect, proud as well, for the Austrian Expo Pavilion to the Expo 2020 in Dubai, which was postponed by 1 year, which will be opened this year. Let me showcase with the next slides, let's say, the 4 aspects that we identified over the last 23 years, like an attitude that helps us to guide us through design processes that will decrease the amount of resources used. First one is the operative sustainability. One thing is that 2/3 account for cooling and heating and lighting. So for the Austrian Expo Pavilion, what we did is we thought global and acted local. What we did is we went in discussion and in dialogue with local traditional Arabic building principles and tried to implement it within our design. What does it mean? It's like we're using shading, we're using natural ventilation, we're using thermal massing, we're using adiabat cooling to decrease the amount of energy consumed tremendously, which means we used with our partners from Ingenieurbüro Jung, we tried to identify those measures and acted low tech and high intelligence. What means we identified those measures, increased them, and the output was in the end that compared to the ASHRAE standard, which is the comfort guidelines, we were able to showcase that we are reducing our total energy demand by 70%. The next big aspect for us is structural sustainability. The remaining part, like what Rom said, it's within the carbon emissions are within the material, the production, the transportation, the construction itself. So what does it mean? We have to provide systems, and we have to prepare our structures to be more sustainable, to be more adjustable and adaptable for the future generations and the requirements that future generations will have. We did it at the Austrian Expo Pavilion with precast elements that were detachable, and we're using them in another setting. What means we try to extend the lifetime and the life cycle of a project. And that's for us the big aspect, functional sustainability. We need to address those requirements of future generations. Our structures are prepared already. So our Expo Pavilion was prepared to be reused. So what we did is we designed it as a standalone. So you could use it as a, let's say, a bus station in Vorarlberg, or each cone can be reused in another setting. And in the end, we were able to, it took us some efforts, but in the end, we were able to find a reuse setting in Oman at the German University of Technology. And the strength of it is that we're not throwing the material away. In this case, Mr. Hom doesn't have his work to do, but we're reusing the material for as long as we can. We're giving it extend the life cycle. And what brings me back to the last aspect is the emotional sustainability. It's designing products that you love the most. So we try to extend the lifespan of our products as much as possible. It's things that you love the most will be handled with care, will be treated with care. You will. They last for decades, or they last for centuries, as you see. And that's the same thing that we try with our architecture. It will not be teared down. Let's say Expo is a half-year event. We really tried to give it a long life cycle by reusing it, and we really try to extend our circle by giving emotionalness, dramatic rooms, even fun. Architecture can be fun and loved as well. And that's something we try in all of our projects to implement sustainability in all of those functions. Functional sustainability, structural sustainability, emotional sustainability, and of course, the operative sustainability. Thanks a lot.
Well, me too. I love clay, earth, and mud very much. Clemens, thank you for sharing these exciting pictures with us. They show very perfectly your pavilion for Dubai combines traditional elements of building in hot and dry climates with innovative construction methods and ecological materials. This is a hot ride indeed. So, may I ask you two questions to explain more concerning your work and especially future aspects of your work. Firstly, what are your learnings from this challenging project that you can tell us?
Yeah, right. The learning is, in reality, the learning is growing, still growing and ongoing. And what we have is that those four aspects are getting strong in our design practice every day. And things like using energy, not only energy, but resources in a moderate way is a strong approach that we should tackle and that we should use for future generations, such as modular buildings, using decreasing the amount of used cement to reduce the intake dramatically. And what's, I think, the most important thing is that is always important in our practice is holistic approach. We work together with all of our engineering partners, structural engineers, climate engineers, and all of us are on the same level, and all of us try to work together on the best solution, iterate ourselves towards the best solution.
Well, as we both share the love for mud, clay, or earth, however we call it, I have a second question. How do you think that this material can find its way into the building concepts of the future, especially also on the urban scale?
Urban scale, I'd say it needs strong research. I think it needs the right input to be implemented in our structures. It will for sure not be a structural building element because it's due to the fact that the regularities are quite complicated, etc. So we would really urge all of the decision makers as well to get on the table and discuss how we can set up frameworks for using building materials that are currently, let's say, standard technique, but in reality we're not using it anymore because it's too complicated. It's too you get anxious to use those things in a dense urban scale. But we have to get back on that track and we have to figure out how to tackle those things.
Let's work on it. Let's start with it.
Let's work on it together.
Thank you very much again, Clemens, for your presentation and for your informative and motivating answers.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Now this panel ends. Many thanks also for the other speakers for sharing their impressive work with us. Stay healthy and good luck for all your projects. Thank you.
And above all, thank you, Karin Stieldorf, and all those experts having exchanged their experiences on smart solutions for construction. Many thanks, Karin Stieldorf. Well, the third panel is about energy buildings and brings another expert as host here on stage. Susanne Formanek worked for and took over the leadership of the Green Building Cluster in Lower Austria as project developer for 7 years. Since 2017, she concentrates on sustainable building with focus on energy efficiency, fostering sustainable development, and with focus on green walls and green roofs. She has been named president of IBO, the Austrian Institute for Healthy and Ecological Building, and above all, she is co-founder and CEO of the competence center Grün statt Grau, which can best be translated as a green instead of grey here in Vienna. And green instead of grey perfectly describes her ambition. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Susanne Formanek. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much for this kind introduction. Austria has a strong focus on energy efficient buildings and also on energy plus energy districts. From the Federal Ministry of Climate Action, there are a bunch of instruments, such as City of Tomorrow, where projects were funded. And there exists also an Austrian building standard, which is called Climate Active, which is now used for the thousands of building. But we are focusing right now here in this session on 4 pioneers in the energy efficient district community. We have 4 topics. It's digitalization, material innovation, then engineering and technology. So the combining of technology. And we are starting right now with our first guest, who is coming from the topic engineering. I want to introduce to you Ernst Schriefel. He is coming from the company Schöberl & Pöll. Good afternoon. And he's a project manager and working at this office for Austria's largest office for the building physics, carrying out also a lot of research projects. And the focus is every time on energy efficiency, and they have regarding the planning and the implementation, for instance, also passive house and plus energy buildings. The stage is yours. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for the kind introduction. I'm going to present you now a project which is called World's First Plus Energy Office high-rise building. It's located in Vienna, Austria. So here you can see in the first slide, you can see the initial situation. It's a typical building of the 1960s, the late 1960s regarding architecture. And also the energy standard, it's owned by the Technical University of Vienna, and the former use was mainly for laboratory use and office use. And here is the picture of the building after the renovation. You can see the outer appearance obviously changed a lot, but also many changes took place which cannot be seen at first glance that well. And these changes in total fulfill that the building achieves the so-called plus energy standard. Plus energy means in this context that more energy is produced on the building over the course of 1 year in comparison with what is consumed inside the building. Consumption for uses like heating, cooling, ventilation, lighting, but also electric appliances are taken into account. So how is this possible to reach such a high energy, such a good energy standard for a building like this? The first thing is that the building shell has to be really very good, has to be very excellent regarding insulation and regarding airtightness. So it's a passive house compatible building shell. But then the plus energy technologies are added on to this. Mainly it's photovoltaics, but also energy recovery from servers and lifts serve in this building. And last but not least, very important, it is to achieve an extreme reduction in energy consumption for all kinds of usages, also regarding all the appliances used in the building. So here you can see the photovoltaics modules, the plants, installed on the building, not only on the roof, but also on the facade, on the southwestern and the southeastern facades. In total, this is the largest building integrated photovoltaic plant in Austria. More than 300 kilowatt peak power. So the other energy sources I already talked about. There's recovery of electric energy from the lift, from the elevators, and also from the servers. There are server rooms. The waste heat is used for heating. And so this contributes largely to the heating demand of the building. So here you get an overview on all the energy sources and things about something I already talked. So I just jump over this quickly. So what I want to mention here is also the automated night ventilation. It means that during night the building is cooled by natural air. So and here I already talked about, it's very important that the energy demand is reduced for all usages, for all components. And here you can see this in this graphics, what all was done regarding components. So for every kind of usage, components were optimized, and in total 9,300 components were optimized to gain this really very low energy demand of the building. And here in the next slide you see a comparison. On the left, you have the building before the renovation, very high energy consumption. And then the next is a typical new office building, also quite high consumption. And then the building, how it's implemented in the Getreidemarkt with all these optimizations. And on the very right, you have the production side. This yellow is the column which symbolizes the photovoltaic production, and the red is the rest from the server and the lift. And you can see production is more than the demand, which gains the plus energy standard. And then last, I want to show just one example about energy efficient devices like these small computers, this Intel Next Unit of Computing. So thank you very much for your attention. You get more information on our homepage, www.schöberl.at. We have English texts and also texts in Chinese on our homepage. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this very exciting best practice. So we are curious now and want to know how high are the additional costs in comparison, for instance, for the plus energy standard in relation to a normal standard.
So we made economic calculations regarding this for this building, and you can say that the additional costs in total for reaching the plus energy standard are in the range of 7 to 8%. And this is like the plus energy technologies, the generation technologies, the photovoltaics is about 3% additional cost, and the rest, the facade, the ventilation and all other systems like cooling are about 4 to 5%. So in total, it's about 7 to 8% additional costs.
Wow, that's interesting. So, and you did a monitoring. Yeah, there was it implemented. Could the energy consumption targets for this building be achieved in the practice?
Yes, we did a monitoring beginning with the commissioning of the building, beginning with about 2014, and monitoring is still ongoing. So we're still observing and still evaluating. And basically you can say we could reach the goals. There were optimizations taking place also because of the monitoring. The monitoring showed some weaknesses, but then the optimization was going on. And so now we can say really that we could achieve this kind of energy demand level you also could see in the presentation.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So then coming from the engineering to the next topic, digitalization in the field of energy efficient buildings. I want to introduce to you the next pioneer in this field. This is the company Line Matrix. And for our guest is today Reinhard Nowak. He is since 8 years CEO and co-founder. And he's speaking about monitoring and focusing on the holistic point of view. So it's kind of interesting which data can we collect from existing building, and are there any in-house and in one solution? Please, Mr. Nowak.
So thanks a lot for having me. Thanks a lot for the kind introduction. I would like to tell you a little bit about, how to digitalization, how to digitalize existing buildings. So, digitalization in commercial real estate is just about to kick off. And what you can do is optimize the building operations, prevent building from damages and so on. Or for a lot of companies, it means you can provide new digital services. But if you want to optimize something, you need data. And this is not a problem, especially for new buildings. There's a lot of data available, but most of the buildings we will have to optimize over the next couple of years are already built. And there's a big problem that in a lot of these buildings, collecting data is pretty complex. It's pretty expensive. Why? Because until now it was quite a challenge, to get wired sensors inside a building. It was always a huge effort and a huge project. But this must not, so there's a good solution for that. And it means if you combine the modern technology with a focus on simplicity, it's pretty simple to get some kind of data, some kind of sensor data out of an existing building, and you can start optimizing. Talking about technology, there are some new things popping up, like wireless technology. So if you know the comparison, sometimes if you look about your Wi-Fi at your house, it doesn't work in your garden. There's new wireless technology which has a radio reach in open areas up to 15 kilometers. And in urban areas, like in cities, it's still 2 kilometers where you can send out any kind of information from a cellar, a basement. And the battery lasts for nearly 10 years and the sensor is super cheap. So based on this new technology, there's a broad range of sensors available on the market already. And you can use them for so many use cases, like, room environmental information like air quality. You can monitor resources like gas and water consumption. You can monitor your occupancy of rooms and many others. You can see them on the slide here. So once you have your wireless network installed in the building, that's pretty easy. Just plug in this LoRa gateway into a power supply and you have an encrypted secure network in your building. You can place all your sensors, or the facility manager can all the sensors you need for your use cases inside the building, and you get a holistic view of the building in a glance. It's pretty simple and straightforward. And simplicity, that's an important topic. What do we think if we talk about simplicity? It means real plug and play. So you, as a facility manager of an owner, as a person, a tenant in a building, should be able to roll out these sensors in a couple of minutes. So the normal way how this is done with modern systems is you get the hardware, you install them by yourself. You don't need any IT know-how. It just works if you pull out the battery strip and plug in the power and the gateway. And of course, if something goes wrong, you should get remote support. That's super important. But it should give you an idea how easy it is to connect existing buildings. And just a couple of examples what's possible with this kind of sensors. One, for example, is providing a perfect room climate for office spaces, like air quality, humidity, temperature, etc. To also optimize well-being for your tenants or for your employees. The second thing, a really important topic, if we talk about sustainability, is about monitoring energy consumption or resource consumption from energy, gas, water, heat, etc. via existing counters or by installing new counters which have this wireless technology embedded. And the last use case I want to show is, if we talk about COVID, the way we work changed so much. People are working from home office, so empties are pretty empty most of the time. And with a couple of sensors, you get some occupants information, which areas are used how, when, and you can optimize your office space regarding meeting rooms or shared desks, etc. So if you're interested, and the last topic, just that we don't skip it, is monitoring of technical machinery inside a building using predictive maintenance, also in regarding of sustainability efforts and cost optimization. So if you're interested in more information, just contact us on our website and you will find all the information. I'm happy to help out. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for this introduction. So, seems like low-tech is possible in the high-tech. You're coming from the automotive industry. Do you think there are some compatibilities in this field? So can you compare something? How?
So I think automotive is one of the most digitalized and optimized industries, and commercial real estate is not. So I think we can learn a lot how to optimize processes and things. But still, if we talk about, and I was an IT guy in automotive, and the lesson I learned is that if we need a huge IT project to connect the building, it will never scale out. It needs to be simple and plug and play. I think that's something we can learn from other industries.
Thank you. And you brought some use cases. So what do you think, which one will be the most used in the future?
So currently we see a lot of requests in the market, everything which is COVID and air quality related stuff. But I'm still a huge fan of sustainability, and I'm 100% sure this will be the driver over the next couple of years.
Very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we are coming to our next guest, and relating to air, we are switching to technology, combining technology. And I want to introduce to you Adelina Mulabasi. She is marketing coordinator from one of the biggest company in this field. It's called Ecotherm. Ecotherm is an innovation leader and market leader in the field of turnkey, hot water, steam and solar thermal systems. This company is worldwide active and brings solutions for hotels, for instance, hospitals, industry. And the interesting is they are combining all available energy sources. So thank you very much for your coming, and the floors are yours.
Thank you, Ms. Formanek. So as you already mentioned, we provide individual energy and space-saving turnkey systems. We set particular value to individuality because each customer has individual requirements, and we always work towards the most suitable solution, which is efficient and sustainable at the same time. In the last 30 years, we supplied our products to over 40 countries worldwide and achieved space savings of up to 90% and energy savings of up to 70%. One project I want to talk about today is the Grosvenor House Hotel in Dubai, a very famous structure with two 48-story towers and 400 rooms each. So the original system, hot water system design from the consultant required a hot water storage volume of 65,000 liters and a boiler capacity of 3,000 kilowatts. After meeting the hotel operator, the consultant, and the contractor, our engineers designed a solution and managed to reduce the initial hot water storage volume from the 65,000 liters to only 4,000 liters. And they reduced the boiler capacity from 3,000 kilowatts to 2,000 kilowatts. So as a result, we achieved a space saving of 80% and energy savings of 25%. This technology I talked about in the solution is our high-capacity water heater with our patented shell and tube heat exchanger. For one, as you can see on the slide, the compact design saves a lot of space in plant rooms, and the technology behind it saves a lot of energy and reaches maximum efficiency. As you can see on the chart, the red line indicates in conventional hot water storage systems, and the water stays heated at all times, which of course results in energy loss. Our shell and tube heat exchanger heats up water only on demand, meaning it can go from 10 to 60 degrees or higher in just 1 second. Additionally, the oscillating turbulator rods inside the tubes, they secure a turbulent flow, which minimizes the risk of scaling and fouling. Last, I want to talk about sustainability, because Ecotemp's production facility is now almost 100% carbon neutral, and we use sustainable materials only. All our water heaters are made of high-quality stainless steel, which is the most hygienic material. It does not require additional lining, painting, or enameling, and it can be recycled 100%. The fiber fleece insulation we have that you can see on the photo can also be recycled 100% and is made of PET bottles. And the insulation values are even better than those of conventional soft or hard foam insulations. So in conclusion, this efficient technology we use and the sustainable materials allow us to create a perfect hot water, steam, or solar thermal solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this insight in your huge company. You're an international company, and I'm sure you're used to travel a lot, and then to lead also the personal meetings. So how do you now handle this current situation because of these travel restrictions?
Well, first of all, personal meetings are valuable and important, of course, still, and it's not so easily replaceable. But in times like this, with the travel restrictions, we now offer complete project management virtually. So we starting from the design stage to the production, testing and commissioning, and maintenance and after-sales services.
Okay, so do you use some other tools for also to demonstrate something to the client, for instance?
We do. Actually, just last month, we completed a project in the Netherlands using only online softwares and virtual reality, with no personal meetings during the entire project. Ecotemp creates virtual reality models of each system to ensure a better support. And of course, in the long term, it's also better for the environment.
Thank you very much. So we have a future. Thank you. Okay, then I want to warmly welcome our last guest in this session. And we are turning to architecture and to materials innovation. We want to welcome now Harald Mahrer. He is architect and project manager at CREE in Vienna. The focus is on materials, and he talks about eco-friendly and visionary way of buildings in a timber hybrid way. So how is it possible to build up a 100-meter high building?
Thanks for the invitation and the participation on this event to present our system. First of all, I will clarify that CREE is not only a building system, it's more than, it's a platform with international licenses to build together worldwide sustainable projects. And so I will start with the building system. CREE stands for eco-friendly solution with a visionary way of building. And we built with a higher amount of natural resources and a systematic approach. And so we developed a building system which is based on prefabricated timber elements. And these elements based on three kinds. One of them is the timber hybrid slabs, then the glulam columns, and as you can see in the picture, the timber frame exterior walls, which are also including the glulam columns for the loads. And this system, or these prefabricated elements, can be assembled on-site in a short time without much effort, and so it can be reduced or simplify the entire construction process. And so with these elements, we have also the offer to build in a high flexibility in the facade as well as in the interior design. And therefore, it's also optimized for hotel, office, and educational buildings. It can be also used for residential, but it's not optimal. And so we got also the result that we can reduce the interfaces between the stakeholders, the costs, and also the mistakes. That brings me now to the facts of the system. Here you can see the comparison between a CREE building system to a conventional office building. And reduction is a key element of our approach. And so we avoid prototypes and reduce complexity through to the standardized solutions. And so we have the reduction of gray energy, CO2 emissions, and also the weight of the whole building to 1/3. And so we are focusing on low-tech buildings. And that's now also shown in my reference here. It's the largest CO2 timber hybrid office building in the world. It's the IZM in Vorarlberg, Montafon. This certified passive house building will be contained that we have in the combination with the CREE building system and the MEP system. We will get here an energy requirement approximately 70% lower to choose to a conventional office building. Here you can see that we have built the ground floor in conventional base around the statics and the loads, and the 4 upper floors was in the prefabricated elements. And here we use similarly 3,000 solid cubic meters of wood. That's a really high amount, but you must know this amount of wood grows back in Austria within 1 hour. So that's also a great benefit over there. And also the assembly time here was of the prefabricated elements only just 28 days. So that's also a really benefit. And last point is here that we built 270 workplaces where you must focus on a healthy working environment. That brings me now also to the last slide, because here you can see also the flexible interior design with the glass partitions and also the usage of wood. And so in this wood environment, the productivity increases by approximately 5%. And also the days of absence due to illness will be reduces by similarly 2 days per year per employee. So that's also a great benefit of the system. And that's the reason that because we know wood is a warm, living and sustainable material. And so that influences the human health positively and productively due to its characteristics. And so my last point here is that timber is a material of the future. And we are convinced that we are well equipped for the future with the system. And so we believe the way forward is together, let's share ideas, collaborate, and build more sustainable projects. Thanks.
Thank you very much for all this data. That was very interesting. Your kind of corporations, what are your vision for the future and for prefabrication? What is your kind of approach here in this field?
Yeah, the approach is that CREE optimizes and extends every time on the approach to build more sustainable projects. But We don't favor volumetric modules, except, for example, bathroom pots or similar like this. But our vision, the main vision is that we have two similar points, that we will start with lean principles and also the systemization of the structure. And so we will have a customized prefab of the entire building for the customer.
And we saw so many hybrid systems. Why do you use this timber hybrid system and not gluam, so which is glue timber systems?
Yeah, that's interesting because, I mean, similarly, the timber hybrid solution mainly contains glulam. So we have not only glulam columns, we have also the glulam in the slabs, in the hybrid slabs. And so only a little bit as possible we use concrete. So we will, in this combination, we use both materials with their strengths. Yeah. And so we can use the total amount of material used in the whole construction. And so with this combination, we get also the best cost performance ratio and also long spans to create the most flexible space in the building.
Okay, that's very efficient. Thank you very much.
Thanks too.
Thank you.
Bye.
So, thank you, Susanne Formanek and her panelists for these impressive and innovative projects. Thank you so much. Beyond conventional, as we have just heard. Thank you. Well, and let's move on to the closing remarks right now. We close the fields of innovation right now with a panel closing the morning sessions and same time opening the second part of this event. And we are talking to Patrick Sackmeister. You are the Deputy Director General of Advantage Austria, having spent many years doing hands-on work as a commercial counselor in various countries. So, Mr. Sackmeister, what is your conclusion of this first half of the day?
Well, I think we have experienced a fantastic morning. I've learned a lot. I hope everybody has. We have heard a lot about like new trends and topics. That was our goal as an organizer, to cover these like relevant topics. And of course, we didn't want to miss to present the Austrian solutions in the field. I think there are many of them. They're very fascinating companies, and for me, that was a great pleasure. So now we have to take this energy and go into the second part. This was the warm-up, so to say. We got inspired. Now we're going down to what we are here for, and that's to close deals, to do business, to get to know people. That's the afternoon. The B2B part is the core part for us. And I want to thank the fantastic partners that we have, because without the partners, this event wouldn't be possible. I want to thank all the great people that have spoken this morning. And of course, I want to thank the audience that they accept these new formats and that they are joining us for these new kind of events. I wish everybody a great afternoon and a very successful afternoon.
Well, and talking about energy, even tomorrow we will move on. Tobias Waldchen, you are the director of IBO, the Austrian Institute for Healthy and Ecological Building, and in charge of the following BauSet Congress, taking place tomorrow and the day after. So what stands behind this BauSet Congress?
Thank you, Mrs. Kerschbaumer. I am invited to this panel as a representative of the Congress cooperating with the Future of Building B2B event. BauZ, or BauZ, the Vienna Congress for Sustainable Building, is to be held for the following 2 days starting tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. And what can participants expect from this Congress tomorrow and the day after?
I have been many times active participant of the Future of Building event. Each time I was delighted by the focused 20 minutes talks with people from distant countries. but also with people based in Vienna whom I met here for the first time. We can add to the networking experience with the Congress another experience of listening, asking questions and getting insight into the states of development in ecological building.
Well, and networking was one of the key words, because last, but anything else than least, we have Iris Malovic here with us, representing the Enterprise Europe Network here in Austria. So, what stands behind this headline, and why are you co-organizing Future of Building?
Thank you, Betty. As our name suggests, Enterprise Europe Network, the enterprises of Europe are the core of our work. And so, for example, this is also our role in the event. If an Austrian company, let's say somebody building balconies for old buildings like we have in Vienna, is looking for a partner in Germany, then this would be our job to actually match them together and find them a business partner. And it also works the other way around. If a Bulgarian company is looking for a technology or an innovation as a last piece in their puzzle, there we go, we'll find and get it to them.
Okay. And what is your specific role in this event?
We're in charge of the succeeding B2B meetings this afternoon. So we truly hope they're very successful for all the participants in the afternoon. And in case they do not work, then there's the chatbot box available to ask questions. And also the mobile phone numbers should be seen on the website when they talk with each other and do hopefully successful speed dating for businesses.
Well, perfectly organized, obviously. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and this leaves me with wishing you successful B2B meetings and many, many cross-border business partnerships coming out of this event. Have a great afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon.